My grace is sufficient for you. Greetings from all of us here at Grace Evangelistic Ministries. We want to bring you a word of encouragement in a time such as this. Let me ask you a question. Have you ever prayed and prayed and prayed and prayed, agonized in your closet, so to say, and you have not gotten an answer to what you are asking God for? And sometimes it appears as if God is no longer listening, or if God has abandoned you. I have heard people say to me, I don't think if God is listening to me anymore. Have you been in that situation? Yes, Paul was. Paul was a prayer warrior, a man who prayed and received instant answers. And so he prayed. He had a problem and he prayed, hoping that his answer will come quickly, swiftly, but he didn't. He was kind of, what? He went in and prayed again, intensely, and the answer didn't come either. And then the third time he prayed and prayed and prayed, looking for an answer, and he did come. And the answer was, Paul, my grace is sufficient for you. Imagine getting that answer for your prayer, for your request. You're asking God to forgive you something or to remove something from you, and he said to you, my grace is sufficient for you. What kind of answer is that? You want God to touch you or perhaps to heal you, and he said, my grace is sufficient for you. Is that healing? And for Paul was in that state. He had a problem, physical ailment that was nagging and keeping him from doing what he wanted to do with full force, full strength, with the energy that he wanted to do the things. He wanted to serve God. He was a man that loved God so much. But on the other hand, God revealed him something he never revealed to anyone else, not even to Moses or to David or to Abraham. God showed him something he had never shown anybody. And that alone could have inflated Paul and would have caused God to lose Paul from his command post. And so God, in his infinite wisdom, put a thorn in his flesh. A thorn, we don't know what it is. He asked Satan, and remember, Satan is God's agent. Don't you ever forget that. Satan is just a servant. He cannot do anything God does not permit him to do. He's a puppet. Remember that. And it tells us in 2 Corinthians 12, Satan, the agent, put a thorn, and Paul prayed that God will remove this thorn from him. And the answer he got after 3 times was, my grace is sufficient for you. And let me read the rest of the passage in verse 2 Corinthians 12. And in verse 9, Paul says, and he has said, to me, my grace is sufficient for you, for power is perfected in weakness. Did you hear that? Power is perfected in weakness. When you are weak, that's exactly when God shows up to demonstrate his power. When you don't even know how to move the next day, you don't even know how to take another extra mile or extra inch or feet, whatever it is, that's when God shows up to give you the strength that you need. So he says, my grace is sufficient for you, for my power is made available when you are weakness. So Paul said, most gladly, therefore, I will rather boast about my weaknesses, plural, so that the power of Christ may dwell in me. That the power of Christ may dwell in me. See, you are in God's program. You are in his plan. He knows what he's doing in your life. As a God of infinite wisdom, he knows what works best to bring about the perfect result that he desires through you. That's why he's God, and you are not. You're just his child. He's omniscient. He knows the past, the present, the future. He knows what he's doing. So you don't need to be discouraged. Just because he hasn't answered your prayer the way you wanted him to answer it doesn't mean he has not answered you. He cares. He loves you. And you can count on him that he will never let go of you until his plan for your life is fulfilled. Keep working. Keep trusting him. Until next time, may God richly bless you, my beloved.